Hi there, I'm Carrie Ellis, author of 21st Century Superhuman, and this is our 21st Century Superhuman guest show. This is a show that we're going to start producing every week, and I am here with John Anderson. Hey, John, or JC, as he's known as, and Vivek, who is in Singapore. And we're going to get to see some really exciting things in Singapore today. And this is a show on the Keshe technology. We also have with us in the background here, Dave in Peru. Dave, you're muted, but we'll get you in a minute. And one of the things we're going to, hey, Dave, you want to say hello a second?
Hey, hi. Well, we're making, yes, another machine here of the Keshe technology. So I'm delighted to say hello from Peru.
Awesome. And our Mission I'm Possible Peru crew, who we just love, and we've all been part of this kind of team around the world for the last couple of years. It's been very exciting to watch everybody progress. So one of the things JC and Vivek we were talking about is kind of the state of affairs in the world and how it feels like we're under a lot of pressure right now. There's monetary systems are breaking down if you listen to the alternative news, which most of us do. And governmental systems are kind of shifting position. There's a lot of shifting going on, and I think a lot of us are feeling pressure. I think many people who've kind of stepped out of the system are looking for ways to move ahead. So Vivek, you had kind of a great view out your window. Why don't you share some of that with us? Because it's really a wonderful glimpse into what we've been reading in the news, and here it is right outside your window.
Okay, well, as you all know, I live in Singapore, and this is one of the busiest ports in the world. So before we go to that view, I would like to show you this. Today's Baltic Dry Index reading. Now, what the Baltic Dry Index is it's an indicator of international commerce, shipping index. And currently, as it stands, it's standing at 298. So this is the 1 month view. It's been steadily declining, as you can see on the graph here. This is from Bloomberg. And if I switch to the 1 year view, there's an unexpected error. Well, that's not a problem. We can always refresh the page. Okay, never mind. It's not going to cooperate with me. So, never mind about that. So that is the Baltic Dry Index. It's standing at 298 now. And if I were to switch to my other camera, this is a view out of my window. What you're looking at is the port of Singapore. And the area directly in front of you on the screen right now is where Panamax and post-Panamax vessels come into berth. These are vessels that, Panamax vessels are those that can fit into the Panama Canal, the maximum width, and post-Panamax cannot fit into the Panama Canal itself. So this is an area of the port where Panamax and post-Panamax vessels come into berth. What do you see?
Nothing.
Yeah, you got to keep in mind too, folks, that the Panamax and the post-Panamax vessels, those are the largest shippers on the planet. Those are the most efficient shipping ships out there. So if they're not making money, nobody's making money.
That's right. And you know, this has been in the alternative news the last few weeks, that shipping has dropped down to pretty much zero on all the seas around the planet. And some of it is said it's because of the changes in the monetary system that are taking place, and perhaps the default on the US dollar has something to do with it. So I'm not an expert on that, so I'm not going to go into it, but I encourage people to read about it. But we were just sitting here chatting about this world situation, and Vivek pointed his camera out the window, and I was just like, oh my goodness, here we are getting to see in the Singapore harbor what would normally be a very busy harbor, that there's nothing going on. And how amazing is this internet that we have the ability to communicate like this with each other about what's going on the planet.
This is very true, Cary, because in the port of Singapore, when things are normal, you will not see the crane sitting idle like this. you will see ships coming. You will see a ship leaving the port, and within about an hour, another ship comes in. We're not seeing that now. The ships that I am seeing out of my window are regional vessels, vessels that serve Southeast Asia, that go to Hong Kong, Philippines, etc. But I'm not seeing the Panamax and post-Panamax vessels as much. I probably see one or two in a week, whereas and during normal times I'll be seeing one or two in a day.
Wow, that is really amazing and really a neat window into that part of the world. Thank you so much, Vivek, for bringing that to our attention.
You're welcome.
So, in relationship to that, since we've brought Dave on board, maybe we'll switch gears and go to that, and then go to a little bit more of our general overview. JC and Vivek, I know that you guys are both kind of tech support for the Keshe Foundation, correct?
Well, not kind of tech support. We are tech support for the Keshe Foundation. If you send an email to tech support, you're going to be talking to one of us.
Oh. This is how you learn.
So here we are, and we'll get into kind of what's emerging with the Tech Foundation shortly. But I think since we've got Dave here from Peru, and he actually has his Wi-Fi working, that we will go ahead and let them join us and share with us what they've been working on down there. Dave, you want to share with us what you got going on?
Hi, yeah, I mean, absolutely delighted. And if you can see me and hear me, is that good?
We can't see you, we can just hear you.
Let's try the see.
Uh-oh. It was working. Dave, don't turn your camera on.
Yeah, it's probably better if you just talk. Why don't you just give us a report? Oh, hello.
Oh, working now.
Yeah, I think he tends to freeze up. Dave, we can't hear you.
Okay, so stop video. Okay, sorry, I can't give you the feedback on full color, but delighted to be here with, and I've got Sophie, and I've got Gabrielle from Italy here, who have made the first bobbins of the unit, and they're going to move on to the capacitors side of it, because John and I are discussing how we're going to do that. So we've got also Lazaro, who's not here. Very excited about Lazaro. He's bringing new energy to us, and he's got right behind us an aerator and a little electric pulse going into the blue GANS and the white GANS. We have made a gallon or half a gallon. It doesn't matter. In other words, too much, Cary. We've made too much GANS.
That's pretty exciting. I did see your note on that today, that you had made a goodly amount of GANs, like a half a gallon or something, and that you have new other kinds going on now. That's so great.
So the big news is from here is that the healing method that we're using is to put a piece of medical paper and strap it to the various GANSs that we've got here. And when you do that, I've got 100% record of healing pain and muscle spasms. That must impress you.
That is impressive. And Dave, it's I just look forward to you having better internet down there, because it's so much fun when we can see what you're doing. And I've been down there to visit you, and where you are is so beautiful. I think I'm hearing frogs and things in the background. and you're
Well, we are surrounded by frogs.
yeah, and you're in the jungle of Peru near Tarapoto, but up in the San Roque area, correct?
That's correct.
And you just seem to have jumped on board with kind of the idea of working on these Keshe items. And are you working on power units as well, or mostly the healing tools?
Well, I've got two people here now from Italy who have built their own bobbins, and they will move on to the capacitors tomorrow, and we will make the capacitors just the way Vivek's made them in Singapore, and we will nanocoat them, and we will insert inside them the GANs just as they specify to us. We are listening to John Carl and Vivek just like we are holding this show today. So we will do exactly what we are told to do. We are behind you people, but in front of you people.
That's great. Good. Well, I'm really excited that you could join us today. And one of these days, I know you'll have better internet so that we can actually see what you're doing better, because I visited you and it's just beautiful there. So why don't we let you go ahead back to work, and I think we'll go back to what we're talking about here, unless there's anything else special that you'd like to tell us about what you're doing.
All I can tell you, Cary, is that 100% of the time that I spend putting inserts in people's ear, bottoms, or wherever, the GANS works, the plasma works. I can tell you that with 100% conviction.
Nice.
Okay?
That is very cool.
So for your show, all I can tell you is I know it works, and I don't need to say any more.
Well, I'm really glad you have the people with you down there and you're getting that experience. How about, you want to try turning the video on just one more second so we can see you while we still have you here?
And you can also speak to Sophie when I do, Sophie and Gabrielle, and just ask them if they think it's interesting or not.
Okay. Hi, Sophie.
Hi.
Hola, chica.
Can I jump in here just for a sec?
Sure.
My landlord just showed up. He brought me a new fridge, so I have to help out with that.
Okay.
I'm going to be probably 15 minutes tops.
Okay. Why don't we maybe just take a break and then we can start again when you get back.
Okay, sure, that'll work.
And I can just run two clips together.
Okay, yeah, I didn't know he was showing up there. We just had a big dump of snow. I figured he was going to take a couple more days, but
Perfect. No worries.
it's here, and we got to rip the door off, and I got to move some boxes and make some space. So
Okay, great. Well, hey there, here we are back again. JC, did you get your refrigerator all set?
it's sitting right there.
Oh yeah, we can see it.
I
Nice.
got to take the doors off to get it through into the kitchen because there's a 2-inch difference, but I'll do that later on.
Very cool. And that was fun talking with Dave in Peru. I've been down there and visited him, and it's really a great job that he's doing. He's gathered a number of different people in, and they come and go, but he's been really working on projects in the jungle for the last couple of years, and he's doing a great job. And he has had, as he was sharing with us even on the break, just so many results with using the GANS in the healing tools and seeing instant results with people. So we love that. So JC and Vivek, I would love to just hear from you a little bit because you guys are right in the thick of things. I'd love to hear kind of what your feeling is about this emerging technology and how it's spreading around the world, and there's people putting it into practice everywhere. Why don't you tell us some stories and your vision from the inside?
Well, a little background. I've been talking about this stuff for about 3 years now. And before I moved here, I used to, twice a week, I would go down to the local pool and have a 2 or 3 hour soak in a hot tub. And we had kind of a little philosophy corner where there was a group of 5 or 6 of us that would pretty much always show up, and we'd have all these discussions and everything. And for the first, I would say 2 years, it's like, you're a nutball, you don't know what you're talking about, ain't gonna happen. You know, I'm constantly. I might find 1 or 2 people a week that actually were curious about this.
So were you talking about free energy? Is that what, or
free energy, the legal end of it? Because I started with dealing with the Freeman issues and learning how to read law and decipher it and where the limits of law are. And, you know, that kind of ties into it too, but it taught me to think in a certain way and to look beyond what's actually written on the page. Because it's like if you were David Wynn Miller with his quantum language, it's very difficult. I looked at it and yeah, it's really cool and you can't screw up a sentence, but the primary rule there is if you read it forwards and backwards, it means the same thing. And that's the way I think now. That's the way, when I look at a system, when I look at something like this, I look at it from both directions. And if both directions line up, you know, the water goes under the bridge is over the water.
I guess I'm not familiar with that. If you read a sentence backwards and forward, it means the same thing. Is that sort of a sovereignty rule?
No, that's a quantum language thing. That's one of the things that David Wynn Miller teaches. And like I said, the water goes under the bridge is over the water. You reverse your actions to the direct opposite, and if it still works, the sentence is correct.
Nice.
Okay.
Cool.
There can be you can't interpret it any other way. That's the thing. That's one of the things about law is they write the language in such an ambiguous fashion that it can be interpreted in a million different ways. And that's where people really lose when they try to do that stuff. So you have to be very precise with your language and set your definitions and everything in your paperwork and get it so that it can't be looked at from a different point of view. It's that point of view. And even with the Keshe stuff, what I do is I'll look at a system from my perspective, from my current understanding of it. And I won't make a judgment at that point. I'll see if I can find another point of view or several other points of view. Talk to other people about it. What do they see in it? And I'll add that to my database. And once I have this database built up, then I decide whether or not this is something I want to pursue. And the Keshe stuff, it was almost instant. As soon as I saw it, I went, this is it, man. This is the beginning of Star Trek. This is Jetsons, man. This is the end of worries.
You recognized it when you saw it.
Just like instantly, just like that. As soon as I saw this, I instinctively knew inside of me, put your energy here because this is it.
And JC, as a lot of people already know, you have a pretty strong technical background. So it wasn't like you were just falling off the map.
Yeah, well, I've been, since I was, old enough to chew. My dad got me into electronics. He was a ham radio operator. He's a chiropractor, so I was into his medical books when I was a kid. We lived out in the middle of nowhere in southern Alberta, and there was nothing for 10 miles. So my afternoons in the summertime, unless I was fighting with my sisters, was to sit down with an encyclopedia, and I would read an encyclopedia. So yeah, I got a lot of data, and a lot of it's pretty useless. And that was one of the things when I was like 8 years old. I'm the king of useless data. Mm-hmm. And but back to what I was talking about. A couple of years ago, it was almost impossible to find someone when, just day-to-day life, walking around, talking to people at the grocery store, at Starbucks or the coffee shops or the pool or wherever I was going, who had even an inclination to listen. Now, I have a hard time finding people that'll tell me I'm an idiot, which is like the shift. I I noticed the shift in people about a year ago, dramatic shift. And it was right around, I think it was the second blue moon last year.
Right.
There was a major change in people's attitudes. They became more relaxed, less conflict. They sought less conflict. There was and most of these people didn't even realize what was going on, but I was aware of it and I was watching for it, so I saw it. Today, while I was out running around, I went out I hit up Walmart and Home Hardware and stuff, and got some more supplies for my new reactor. And I had about an hour to kill for the bus. And I stopped into this little store in one of the malls up the road, about 2 miles up the road. And a young lady is in there, and she's got little figurines and crystals and different kind of rock formations and different things like that. And I thought it's really cool. And I wandered around the store for a bit. And she asked me what I was looking for. And I says, I'm looking for quartz crystal, and I'm looking for somebody who knows how to drill it, because I need a hole drilled in this quartz crystal. And she goes, well, what's that for? Ding. All of a sudden, here I am, teacher mode. Okay, great. I get to share a little bit. So I started talking to her about this, and she lit right up. She's it's so fantastic. There was no question of doubt in her mind.
Even I'm experiencing the same thing. I mean, people everywhere, I think we're in this wave of waking up and of change. And I find people everywhere really open, far more than in past years, to this coming, of free energy and of economic change, all the changes that are going on the planet right now.
So I really strongly stress to anybody out there who's interested in talking about this stuff, do so. There's not going to be a better time than right now to jump out of your shell and just say, hey guys, have I got something interesting for you guys? Because it's going to be really rare that you find somebody who's just going to go, bah, you're an idiot.
Right.
And even that's their choice. Fine. They can have their choice. Just don't put any emotion into it. Don't put any energy into it, because it's not worth it. Most of the people you talk to, you're going to find they're going to be interested. They're going to want to know what, standing in the grocery line, you hear some lady talking behind, oh, I'm having such money problems and all this. And just relax. Don't worry about the money problems. Things will work out. And watch their face. The stress will just drain right off them.
Yeah, I find that people are just looking for that there are answers. And it's really getting to be exciting to be involved with these processes of change. So what have you been seeing going on with the Keshe information and how it's spreading?
Well, the devices that are out from the tech standpoint, we had a major blast of people going, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? This doesn't work. I'm not doing it right. Now we're getting virtually none of that. The last, I think, 6 or 7 tech messages, other than one, which was one fella who sent me a whole long list of questions that didn't even relate. They're totally electronic questions, and it didn't. It doesn't translate into Magrav technology at all. They've all been, well, the plugs don't fit. That's been the big thing. Well, we're getting. I'm in Austria. We don't use Italian plugs, and okay, well, you're authorized to change the plugs. It's not a problem. Just send me pictures of before and after so we have a record of it. And everybody who's changed the plugs, I haven't heard back from them. They're having apparently good success, because if it didn't work or something blew up, I'm sure we hear about it. My friend Boss in Sweden, he just got his machine. He ran it for 21 days, followed the instructions religiously, did it exactly the way it was expected, and he just reported at 21 days he had I believe it was a 9% decrease in his electric bill.
I saw him messaging today, and he's really technical. He was pretty excited.
Well, he's been, if anybody's been watching the MIP Peru or any of this stuff for the last 2 years, Bossy has been our resident skeptic.
Yes,
and we love him for it. The questions he comes up with are very relevant. They do make sense. They're not just to cause problems. They're actual valid questions. And he sent me an email and asked a couple of questions that says, 9%, like what's the deal, right? And I says, well, 21 days, you're just getting started. At 21 days, you should start seeing a difference, which is exactly what's happened. And in 3 weeks with this system, a 10% drop in your utility usage, that's pretty significant. It's like Mr. Keshe was saying yesterday on the program. A lot of people, well, you give them 10%, well, they want 90. You give them 90, okay, I want to make money on it. They're never going to be happy with it. And there's a lot of people that are like that. But when you look at it from a process standpoint, where this does take time, some houses, they're very complicated. They have very complex electrical systems. They could take a year before you're going to see 60, 70%, right? Some simple systems, like the place I'm in here, well, I've only got like 4 breakers in this whole house. I think there's 6 plugs in this whole house. And it won't take very long at all. I would think probably 3 months, and my bill is going to be as low as it's going to get, unless I upgrade the Magrav unit and put in a little more power into the system. But I do have a smart meter, so chances are what's going to happen is the smart meter is going to recognize what's going on, and they're going to bill me for the power I'm putting back out. We'll see. If that happens, I'm going to take a shotgun to the smart meter.
Yeah, really.
Or a baseball bat, maybe not a shotgun.
Right.
I'm not firearms,
Right.
but I'll fix it with that somehow.
Vivek, how about you?
Well,
What have you seen from your inception of getting into this and the process of change?
well, it was very interesting that I got into this. I came across Mr. Keshe through one of Cary Cassidy's interviews with Mr. Keshe. So that's where I got to know about him. I started researching a little bit, and then came out the interview with the CO2 capture kit. That really intrigued me, and I bought a capture kit straight away. I started working with it, and then things kind of tapered off. I didn't really pay too much attention until about the latter half of last year, 2015. I came back into it even more because deep inside me, I knew that there was definitely something there. That this is the way forward, and I had better pay attention. So I came back into it. I started by showing something on one of the knowledge seekers workshop. Mr. Keshe gave us feedback on that, and then after that, John asked me, "Hey, would you like to help out with the foundation?" And I said yes, and I've been helping out in tech support ever since. Now, with regards to my own Magravs unit, I'm going to say this live on camera. My bill for February just came in. It went up. Okay? It went up. Now, here's the thing. I've been making so many modifications to this Magravs unit that might have caused that phenomenon to happen, because everything has to reset, everything has to start again, on the Magravs unit itself. It starts going out, and that's one of the reasons why I believe my bill went up. The second reason is because during the resistive conditioning phase, I actually went a little bit too enthusiastic, and I ran my heat gun for 1 hour at a time for 3 to 4 times a day, that kind of thing. So that's where we are seeing the increase in energy consumption. But I had a talk with one of my fellow Singaporeans last night, who is also involved in the cash technology. His name is Salama, and he imparted a lot of wisdom to me last night. And he said, "What is your intention?" And that clicked straight away. And I was like, "Oh yeah." So he explained it that, every time you unplug your unit and then, you do something, your unit probably thinks that you're angry with it for some reason or another. You need to explain to your unit that you're not, that your intentions don't change, that your goals are still the same, and that you choose to see the power of plasma. And it just clicked for me last night. So that's exactly what I've done. I'm not going to make any changes to my unit. I'm going to run it as it is. I'm going to run the loads as they are right now, and I'm going to leave them running. Because remember, the wiring in this house is now 1990. We're looking at about 26, 28, 27 years old. So that in itself might be, some sort of complication. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to apply for meter reading so that I can gain access to the meter outside and then I can keep a track of things myself rather than to wait for the bill to come in. So I can run my own series of experiments, and I can gauge from there what happens.
Nice. That's interesting too about the, about our awareness or our thought also affecting the system. One lady wrote me and asked me last week, she said, well, what if a person has bad intentions? Are they going to be creating bad intentions with their Magrav unit as opposed to if they have good intentions?
No, the way it works is, you see, you have to understand that everything in the universe is love. So anything that's not congruent with love, it's not going to be able to manifest in that way. And then we also have to remember the saying, you reap what you sow. With Magrav's technology, that that adage gets supercharged. So if you put out a bad intention, you're going to get it back very, very, very quickly. It's not going to go out and affect someone else. It's going to affect you. And it's going to teach you that you are the co-creator of your reality. And that's where you're going to start to see the change.
Interesting. Yeah. So how do you guys see what's going on with everybody that's building units around the world? And I mean, it's amazing to me, basically, I mean, through open source, which is what Keshe opted to put this information out through, which was open source, was developed by the professors who developed 3D printing because they didn't want somebody just getting killed off in their garage with directions on how to do some new technology. Instead, they said, let's spread it out to the world and let everybody have it. And then you have a lot of people learning from it, developing it.
And I think, yep, sorry.
No, that's okay. Go ahead.
Okay. I think, the proliferation of this technology is a very, very good thing. That the more people who get involved in it, the better for the world as a whole. But at the same time, people around the world who are building these devices need to understand that these devices are a means to an end. They are not the end in themselves. And the end that we are working towards is know thyself. Because these devices are going to teach us that the power is within ourselves. A health pen, for example, I built a health pen over here, and after some time of using it, I now realize I don't even need the health pen. This is my health pen. Because the power is here. It's within me. It's within all of us. And the moment we start feeling the signature, we start to understand the signature that this health pen puts forth. And that's why I always ask for feedback. How do you feel? When I do this, how do you feel? When I put it there, how do you feel? And I get that feedback from my mom, I get it from my aunt, I get it from others I've used the health pen on. So I start to use my finger instead, and I do the same thing, and I get the same feedback. So for all intents and purposes, the health pen has now taught me how to become the health pen. The Magrav's unit is also showing me how to become the Magrav's unit.
And that's a giant leap, I think, for a lot of people. We're asking to go from a 3D world that says it requires a certain kind of structure in order to accomplish something into realizing that we are able to access this plasma energy, this energetic field that's continually flowing around us, and focus it towards certain things. So it's really nice that the way the technology is coming out is with a system that's kind of bridging from that old system into where we will ultimately go. I'm kind of fond of saying we're just in the baby phases of this. We've been given these baby steps to learn how to really play with this energy. And
that's right. And I think something that we all need to keep in mind when dealing with these technologies, working with these technologies, is that everything is energy. So once we have this basic understanding that everything is energy, it no longer becomes a quantum leap for people to take. It doesn't become a giant step. It just becomes the next step.
And it still is a quantum leap. I mean, for probably the majority of people. What do you think, JC?
Oh yeah, most people, they're going to see the first chip in the sky and they're just going to go, what in the world is that? It's going to be so beyond anything that they're prepared to deal with. But like I was saying before, with my recognition, or the seeing this shift in people, it's not going to be the trauma that it would have been 5 years ago. If you walk out and you're in the city or somewhere, and all of a sudden the lights go out and there's 20,000 ships above your head, there would have been panic. People would have died. Now people are going to smile and wave. Hi, go on down. I mean, the way people are thinking about this is totally different than it was a few years ago. And that shift in the thinking has added an impetus that is no less than astounding. When anybody who's energy sensitive and they don't feel this, they're missing out big time. You feel it, Cary. I feel it. Vivek feels it. Even people that I know who don't consider themselves energy sensitive people are going, wow, something is going on out there. I really feel it. And it's almost to the point where it's undeniable.
Yes. Well, I mean, I think it's a combination. We are in these, what I call times of great change, and the ancient Chinese said, may you live in times of great change, but those are not necessarily easy times. And the part that's not easy is we are feeling the pressure in our economic systems, pollution happening from excessive use of petroleum, the breakdown and collapse of monetary systems around the world, the attempts for new to emerge, terrible. I mean, we've got refugees in major countries, and, really millions of people suffering and in difficult situations. And at the same time, we have this huge waking up process going on where we've had so much disclosure about everything from, the secret space wars and ETs and all kinds of what we would have in the past called supernatural phenomena. And then we've got this emerging new free energy technology, which, as you and I, JC, were talking about a little bit ago, really promises to free us from the monetary system. And that's a whole nother topic. As a couple of years ago, when I began realizing ultimately we are going to have to move into a system without money or beyond money. And even that is like, oh my God, how can that even be possible? Because we're moving out of all this old programming. I know when I go out to teach a workshop and I say, well, let's talk about the subject of free energy. And people say to me, oh, well, energy isn't free. And I say, well, yes, energy is free. It's flowing all the time. Someone has just told us, though, that we have to pay for it, that we have to pay for petroleum products, that we have to pay for, coal burning or nuclear burned electricity. And so we're really in this major awakening phase where we're having the realization that there are things beyond the old 3D world and the old traditional programming that are coming forward. And this Keshe technology is certainly a really big part of that. I mean, I think it's playing a huge role in us being able to open doors to something that we couldn't even conceive of before.
Yeah, and particularly with the Keshe technology, one of the things, if anybody's followed any of the work that I've done with MIP Peru or any of that stuff, you would know that I'm a scrounge expert. I'll take a complex problem and I'll look at it from the point of view of a guy who's got a rock and a knife. And how am I going to make this work with a rock and a knife? And I did that with the folks down in Peru, and I got Dave into thinking about simple, very easy. You don't have to be complicated. Don't bring high-tech electronics into the bush, because if they break, you're screwed. Bring in simple systems, a ram pump that if the valve breaks, you can go and find a piece of bamboo and carve yourself a new valve. Simple, easy stuff to do. The Keshe technology is really no different. You can make any of these devices out of stuff you can scrounge out of a junkyard. You don't need high-tech anything to do this. That includes the health devices, any of the GANS products, any of the energy products, all of this stuff. You can make it out of junk, and it works just fine. So this is the one of the, it's going to teach people to repurpose, because there's going to be a lot of people out there who don't have an income, but they got a junkyard a half a mile down the road from the invading army that was there 2 years ago and left all their crap behind. They can go and repurpose all that crap, take the materials out, disassemble it, take what they need out, and make what they require to have a shelter and transportation and food and energy and all of the stuff that they need. And it won't cost them a dime. Just some effort, just some ingenuity. That's where I'm really, really happy about this technology, is that it is incredibly simple.
Yes.
You can make it as complex as you want. But you were having issues with the GANS. Was that about 4 or 5 months ago, before you went to
Mexico.
the West?
Yeah.
Was it Mexico? Oh, okay. And I don't know, I sat down with you for how long? What, 45 minutes?
Right.
And I got you to stop thinking.
Right.
And it became really clear after that.
Yeah.
And that's the trick. It's very simple. You don't have to overthink any of this stuff.
It's really beautiful what you just said too about, even people that are in war-torn parts of the world, and there's junk, there's all this broken down stuff that's left, and they can take all of that and repurpose it into, these are simple things to build. People can build them anywhere. I mean, I'm talking to people all over the world at this point, and I just did a show this week with someone from Bosnia, and he said certain things were hard to get in my country, but this is how I figured out to get them. And it's wonderful to see how, and really anybody can make this stuff. It is not that difficult. And we want to, I remember having a kind of mental block when I first started, like, oh, this is going to be so difficult. And then, I mixed up the salt water and hung 2 metal plates in it, and all of a sudden I'm making GANs. I mean,
and we set up the iron GANs with the nails.
Right.
Well, how long is this going to take? I says, well, look at it now. And you looked, and wow, there's red stuff in there.
Yeah.
And it was that easy. I mean, you don't have to, you can make it as complicated as you want. If you want to drive yourself crazy, by all means, try to tear it apart, try to get into the minutia of this. If you want a functional device, get a basic understanding of what you're doing, because you do kind of need to understand how the energy is going to interact. And that, you can think of that as flowing water. You can think of it as sound, colors. You mix 2 colors together, you get a third color. When you mix 2 different maggrav fields together, you get a third field that's going to produce something else. It's really all the same. It bridges really, really easily with that. And the mechanics behind it, like I showed with the GANS video that we did, with the coil winding video that we did, the mechanics behind it, anybody can do. We got a 5-year-old girl in China who built herself a system.
Cool. That is awesome. Oh man, be fun to do a show with her. 5 years old? My goodness. I'd like to meet that girl.
I don't know how to get a hold of her. This came through Mr. Kesh. That was one of the people he got involved in really, really early.
That's exciting.
But yeah, she'd probably be 7 or 8 now. And it would be really nice to have a talk to her and just get it, just that perspective. That would be such a pure, simplistic, truthful perspective.
Right. Not complicated with previous ideas.
It wouldn't have all of the fancy words or the complicated delusions or convolutions that everybody tries to get going into this. And
right.
It would just be a very simple, very basic, very honest perception of it. And yeah, I would love to hear it.
So what's really exciting is we are in this phase where what Mr. Kesh has brought forward and has put out to really now millions around the world who are starting to play with it, is how do we access the energy that is just flowing around us all the time? Space is not really empty. There is this magnetic gravitational field that energy is always flowing in, that we can access. We can begin utilizing some of these really simple tools and systems to feed it into our already built structures and supplement what's there. And as we go on with these shows, we're going to dig into more stories of, what kind of results people are getting and how it's working. We're really just in the first few months of this, and people have barely gotten units built and started conditioning their houses. So we're just we're here on the takeoff kind of. And as this is happening, we're going to kind of be reporting on it as it goes along. And then also accessing this energy from the field, which is capable of giving us healthy, well balanced bodies, capable of putting seeds in its presence and making the seeds that were maybe genetically modified or whatever turn back into a healthy seed. I just want to encourage everyone who's got even the least interest, please start listening to the training sessions from the Keshe Foundation. They're so incredibly good. And what they'll start doing, I say in my 21st Century Superhuman work, we need to begin activating brain cells that have not been activated. And so what listening to this work does is it helps us begin perceiving our world in new ways. It begins activating those brain cells that allow us to even conceive that this is possible, and to begin being able to see our world as the Keshe Foundation's real objective in this work is for us to enter into a civilization founded in peace, and where there is enough for all. I mean, what are wars about, basically? You know, we want what you've got. I mean, yeah. I mean, this entire old system is going to give way into a system where humanity knows how to heal itself. We know how to live without war. We know how to live in peace with each other. We have free energy that is serving us in such a way that we can begin living as creative beings. So there's so many details to this, and in one short little show we can share glimpses, and we're going to keep sharing glimpses into the windows of what's going on in this world of the Keshe free energy and everything that's being developed kind of in the periphery of it. What do you think, John?
Oh, that would be the way to go. Another thing we were discussing earlier is we have the ability for call-ins, and it'll probably be a couple of 2-3 shows down the road. But what we were discussing would be to have at least one of the shows each session, which is basically a call-in. You can call in with questions and let us know what you're thinking. Let us know your experiences. If you're building your own system, by all means, tell us what's going on. Vivek and I will be available for questions at that point, which I think we'll go over really well. Because sometimes the email, you can't really get it out in the email because you can't hear the emotion, you can't hear the excitement in the voices, and that really helps me when I'm listening to people who have issues. And yeah, it'll open everything up. We can crack this wide open and get everybody that listens anyway, and everybody that listens to them involved in this. And the more people we have involved in it, the faster we're going to get out of this mess that we're in now.
That's right. I mean, that's really what's so cool is, I mean, the years that I've been involved in alternative thinking and cutting edge stuff, I mean, we're just watching this wave accelerate. Like, the more people that get it around the world. And what's really great about this is it's practical. I mean, it's practical and it has applications in our everyday lives. And I know there's people writing us questions all the time. They put them on the bottoms of the videos, or they send me messages on Facebook. And it'll be really fun to open up a forum where people can call us directly and get their questions answered, and we can just, expand this discussion, because it is a discussion of all of us, of all of humanity. It's not just those of us who happen to be here on the show. And we'd love to have other people jumping in and getting their questions answered, learning how to move this ahead, because the faster we all get it, the faster it gets done, and we're living on a planet that is based in peace and plenty for everyone.
Yeah. Oh, and when you were speaking earlier, it brought up a thought that I've been involved with the free energy stuff. I started when I was really young. My goal when I was 10 years old was to put on a backpack, grab an axe, bugger off into the woods, and live in the woods. And so I studied free energy and sewage systems and water systems and how to get power and all of this sort of stuff. And there wasn't a viable solution in any of it. And even with some of the new thinking that's coming out, the Searle technology, the Bedini tech, stuff that even as old as Victor Schauberger, very interesting, shows some really interesting phenomena, but it's not an everyman solution. What we're dealing with here with the Keshe Tech is an everyman solution. There is no one on the planet who does not have the ability to do it themselves.
That is really nice, and I think that's really important to hear. I don't know if we've lost Vivek, but that's such a cool picture of the Singapore harbor. Are you still there, Vivek?
Yes, I'm still here because you mentioned a window into a glimpse into what's to come. So I decided to put this picture up to round out the show. And my thought is, as I look at this, as I look out through as I look out of my window every day, this is pollution. This is a pollution of the beautiful waterfront. Why do we need these giant steel hulks? I'm talking about the cranes, I'm talking about the containers, I'm talking about the ships. Think of it. You order a product from a manufacturer. The manufacturer manufactures that product, opens up a Magrav's portal, and delivers it straight to your house. What is the time of transit? Practically nil. What is the cost of transit? Practically nil.
So you're talking about kind of like a time travel or teleportation, which is really the cutting edge of this whole Keshe technology, right?
That may be a little ways down the road.
Right. But we are talking about...
That's where we are going.
Yeah, it is where we are going. And we're ready to take a leap out of spending our time in battle with each other and begin living for, the creativity and the beauty and the, higher levels of living that we're capable of.
Right. So this is how I think. For me, I don't just think 1 or 2 steps ahead. I think 10 or 20 steps ahead. That's why I'm talking about Magrav's portal at this stage. But I do understand that we're not there just yet. We are on the way there, but we have to open up our imagination once again. This imagination, we have been conditioned in a system that suppresses that imagination. Everyone, children, we need to open up our imagination. We need to consider all possibilities because the possibilities are limitless.
That's right.
Vivek, I think you're channeling. Your whole picture is flashing there. There's a lot of energy coming through the screen. I see this in doing these shows with people. When there's a lot of high energy, you can see it in the electronics. So thank you for your heart and your presence. And you too, JC. And thanks to Mr. Keshe and to really all the amazing students who've gathered from around the world who are putting this into practice, who are asking questions, who are helping expand the answers.
Thank you so much.
Yes. And we all volunteered to be here at this time. Many blessings, all you beloved friends out there. And please join us, follow us as these shows continue. And we shall see you soon.
Bye-bye, everybody.